Howdy, folks. It's been a while, but I'm here, and I am ready to have a great time today. So, my name's Eldon Atkin. I've been here for a while. If you haven't seen my episodes before, I'm doing El Dino today, my show all about dinosaurs, and I have done prehistoric wildlife in general, not just dinosaurs, which is today. So I know if you've been watching, I was doing all Canadian dinosaurs, A through Z. I'm gonna finish it, but today I'm like, you know what? Let's do something else. I need to do something other than dinosaurs today. So I thought I'd talk about something that I think is really such a cool concept to me, and one of my favorite animals for a long, long time. So today, we're stepping out of the Mesozoic era and into the Ice Age, which I think the Ice Age is one of my favorite time periods with so many cool megafauna, and an era when humans weren't alone at the top of the food chain. So our story isn't about mammoths, or saber-toothed cats, or woolly rhinos, all really cool. It's about a predator that lived in the same caves as we did, and sometimes forced us out of them. So you might think cave hyena, and you'd be right. So we are talking about cave hyena, Crocuta spelea, a creature that some researchers call humanity's Ice Age rival. So this is such a cool animal. We have a picture here. It looks a lot like a modern day spotted hyena. If anything, it's a little more fuzzy. It's nothing crazy on the scale. You'll see a size later, but we're just going to talk about this now. The pups, of course, are black. All hyena pups come out a very dark color. But so this is our Ice Age rival, which is so cool. So, as I said, the cave hyena was the Ice Age cousin of today's spotted hyena. Same family, but a very different world. So we have a picture of diversity of hyenas, and this kind of shows the four main hyena families currently. So we have spotted, striped, aardwolf, and I think that's like an African desert or striped. There's two types of striped, I believe. One's more Africa, one's more India. The one that looks kind of like a zebra is more India, I believe, and then the one that looks like a shaggy little creature in the top right, that is, I'm pretty sure, the African striped hyena. And then, of course, spotted hyena, classic, and then the aardwolf, which is just so cool. So these four are our modern day hyenas. Love them all. When I was a kid, I did one of my biggest, I guess one of my only speeches. We used to do speeches in high school, or not even high school, public school, and I talked about spotted hyenas and how cool they are. So, classic hyena propaganda. They're only scavengers. Not true. So these animals weren't just scavengers skulking behind bigger predators, because at the time, they were big. So these were apex hunters on the frozen plains of Europe and Asia, powerful enough to bring down wild horses, bison, reindeer, aurochs, which are the giant cows, all kinds of huge animals. So an average adult weighed close to 88 kilograms, almost 200 pounds. And the largest fossils hint that individuals could top 100 kilos, which is more than I weigh, which is incredible. So stocky limbs, massive necks, and a jaw strong enough to snap a femur in half. So hyenas, one of the strongest bite forces in amongst, not one of, but a very strong bite force for terrestrial animals. Picture here is cave hyena. Again, it looks fuzzier. It's a little stockier than modern day hyenas. This one says, the laughing queen of Eurasia, a nightmare for wolves, bears, lions, and even us. And it's very impressive. I think cave hyenas, anything that is in a cave, I think is so cool. The Latin for cave is spelea. So you'll have I think Arctis spelea is cave bears, or Ursa spelea. And then cave hyenas are, I'll come back to that, but I'll get it. But crocuta is the name for hyenas, spotted hyenas, and then spelea is the cave. So the cave floors across Europe are littered with cracked bones, the leftovers of their meals, crushed to reach the marrow inside. A lot of good things of marrow inside. When you eat bone marrow, very good for you, and hyenas are amazing at cracking that open and getting to it. So despite the name, though, cave hyenas didn't always live underground, nor in caves. Some caves are above ground. They likely used dens and shelters like modern-day hyenas in Africa, but when they did settle in caves, they left unmistakable traces. So bones, dung, tooth marks that tell a story of Ice Age life. So again, very prolific. Picture the world then, endless grasslands stretching from Spain to Siberia, swept by cold winds and filled with mammoths, woolly rhinos, and herds of reindeer, among other things. There were a lot others. Cave lions. There was all kinds of crazy big cats at the time. So this was the Pleistocene steppe. and the cave hyena was one of the most dominant predators in that area. They probably lived in, so this is the really interesting thing, I think, of hyenas. So hyena hierarchy, I'm going to break this down quickly. Currently, hyena hierarchy, it's matriarchal, so the females are in charge. So dominant female, the lesser dominant females, the cubs, and then the male hyenas are at the very bottom. It's always been like that, but cave hyenas probably had a different thing. So they lived in small clans, not the huge social groups we see today, but the fossil brains casts show how smaller their frontal lobes were, suggesting they might have been less socially complex, more family units than full-blown packs. So instead of having a pack of, 20 hyenas, you'd have maybe just a smaller group. Oh no, I'm going to sneeze. Wouldn't be El Dino if I didn't sneeze. So, of course, I was going to sneeze for some kind of El Dino episode. So even though they were smaller groups, they were highly efficient, cooperative, and relentless. They shared the landscape with cave lions, as I said, wolves, and leopards, and occasionally with saber-toothed cats left over from an earlier era. It was a dangerous ecosystem where every hunt at the time was a risk, and every cave could be contested. So this is the really cool thing. Then came a new kind of predator, us. So first it was Neanderthals, which aren't us, and then later modern-day humans. So Neanderthals, extinct species of human, they're gone. We have some DNA. Most of us share some DNA. If we came from the European continent while we were migrating, we probably have Neanderthal DNA. So archaeologists, and this is so cool, have found dozens of sites where human and hyena remains alternate in layers, one species moving in after the other moved out. So it's basically one of like boom, 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 boom. And you can see this. Like this picture here shows how far cave hyenas were. It's a little harder to see, but like they stretched from Spain all the way into like what would be like, I guess like Germany, past that into like Italy. Yeah, it's incredible. And like if you were a modern human or a Neanderthal, this was something you'd deal with every day. I think it's a terrible movie I saw a while back about this kid. It's basically how dogs became domesticated. Really bad movie. But it kind of showed one of the big villains was cave hyenas, and I think that's so cool. So again, huge range. They were everywhere. Now, as they moved into these caves, so a cave might begin with hyena bones, right? You go into the cave, you're like, it's cold, you want to sleep somewhere warm. Go into the cave. Hey, look at that, cave hyenas. Let's get them out of here. So you go in, you get rid of them all, and then your Neanderthal family, your modern human family, you're like, this is so nice. We're going to relax in this cave. And then the cave hyenas come back, and they're like, we're taking this back. And then they eat your whole family. And that sucks, but hey, that's what happens. You live to 30 and you hope for the best. Then your friends and family or a different group come back and they say, hey, that's really this cave. Let's go in there and take those cave hyenas out. And then other cave hyenas come back and they're like, hey, we like this cave. And it's a cycle that never ended. And it's so crazy to think that like we have, so a cave might begin with hyena bones and gnawed reindeer remains, then a layer of hearth ash and stone tools, and then more hyena bones. And it's just like a cycle. So it seems we took turns living there, and sometimes those turns ended violently, and often violently. So some Neanderthal bones show clear hyena bite marks, while a few hyena bones bear signs of human hunting and butchering, which is like, it's a never-ending battle. That's such a cool concept to me. It was a relationship built on proximity and tension, sort of what you see in like Africa today with a lot of like the tribes that have cattle and push the cattle through, and tigers and leopards and all those big predators where you have to contest with these animals all the time. But this time you don't have a gun. You don't have you might have a spear, a sling, maybe a hatchet, but it's a flint hatchet. And you're also like, you have to, the cave doesn't have a door. So someone's got to watch at night. So the cool thing was, both species, obviously, we are highly intelligent, and so were the cave hyenas, and both hunted many of the same animals, and both used caves for safety and shelter. So to early humans, the hyena must have been an unsettling mix of the familiar, and I love this line, the familiar and the alien. Cunning, loud, capable of stealing both your kill and your home. The unsettling thing with hyenas, the classic laugh, that laugh will unsettle. If you were out in the caves at night, and you had a fire going, and you couldn't see outside the cave door, and you can just hear that hyena cackle, and it's picked up by others, and it's like that, or that really like just gets you like that. You hear that at night, you can't see it, it's there, and that is such a crazy concept. Like, we were afraid of the dark for a good reason. Now, there's one I kind of talk about the cave art. So in Chauvet, France, is the Chauvet Cave. We have these beautiful cave paintings. And I mean, I'm no artist. I couldn't even do this today. But early cave painters really showed what these animals are. So this, our first one looks more like a spotted hyena, but you can see it's very stocky, very big body. We have another picture here, which looks more like a giraffe. But again, hyenas have longer necks. Looks kind of cool. Still not something I want to deal with. And then it kind of gets a little more... I'd say the artist was up for debate. Maybe it was a child. So we have this one. It's still kind of hyena-esque. You could say it's maybe a lion. And then the last one, I love this picture. And that's like me on most days. Like this really tells a story. And so the thing with this is people kind of thought like maybe it was more tailored towards a zoomorphic, which is a combination of human and animal, kind of maybe showing like a deity of some sort. Then they believe that no, it's probably just... Again, it's just a different aspect of the hyena. But it's a cool thing to think. Again, we don't... Paleological religions and how they worked, we still don't fully grasp. So you could have a zoological or zoomorphic entity that they feared or worshipped. But I'm no judge of that, unfortunately. So what you see there is the cave hyena. Real spooky if that came out at you. It looks like a sock puppet. Now, with that being said... The really cool thing about the claim that pops up, and I heard this a while back, and it's not totally true, but I had heard that the hyenas were so dominant in northern Asia at the time that they actually kept humans from crossing the Bering Land Bridge into North America. So cave hyenas and cave bears, very big predation things for us. And I had seen this a while back saying that cave hyenas were the reason why humans didn't cross Beringia, which is the big bridge that was to Asia to Alaska, because of cave hyena predation. Now, dramatic idea, obviously, packs of enormous hyenas roaming Siberia, forcing humans to turn back. What does the evidence really say? And thankfully, I did some research of my own, and I asked ChatGPT to kind of like, out of the three I found, what is the most logical, and have there been new studies published? So, we know that some hyena relatives once reached that region. Cave hyenas never got that far west on the continent, but we did have Chasma porthetes. So long before the Ice Age, a species called Chasma porthetes, sometimes called the running hyena, crossed the Bering Land Bridge into North America millions of years before this. And of those early migrants, they disappeared long before humans ever showed up. So did hyenas ever cross the Bering Land Strait and get into North America? Yes, but not at the time of humans. So this claim, unfortunately, for me, I thought it was so cool. But it's not true. So by the time people were ready to make the crossing around 30 to 20,000 years ago, and we might have actually pushed that back even farther. We think people may have actually come to North America a little bit, I guess, earlier than that. There's no fossil evidence that shows cave hyenas ever got this far. So while it's true that cave hyenas and humans competed fiercely in Europe and Western Asia, the idea that they physically blocked our path to the Americas is unsupported, which, rats, next time. So the real reason for the delay of not crossing was really just climate change, glaciation, and geography. Massive ice sheets cut off the route south, sea levels rose and fell, and the environment of Beringia was harsh and unstable. It's literally a connecting bridge that is flooded or covered in glaciers, and like there's not a lot of game. If reindeer aren't coming across, you're not eating. Mammoths aren't coming across, you're not getting food. So, not really going to happen. So while the hyena stopped us story is fun to imagine, it's more myth than fact. A reminder, though, that sometimes nature itself, not its predators, set the limits, which makes total sense. Now, around 30,000 years ago, the balance began to shift, and there's a reason why you don't see cave hyenas out and about today. Climate change brought colder, drier conditions, grassland shrank, and the great herds that the hyena relied on dwindled. Now, another thing, too, I keep sniffing the mic, I'm really sorry about that. Some people believe, and it's a bit of a debated fact, or debated idea, or theses, but the idea is that we, modern humans, wiped out a lot of the big game. Realistically, climate change, I think, played a bigger role than us, but we definitely did eat a lot and kill a lot of the megafauna that used to exist. We still do it today, unfortunatately. So, but that's why we're at the top of the food chain. We have put ourselves here. That's why I know there's no cave hyenas anymore. So at the same time as the climate change was like everything was changing, we adapted. We had fire, we had clothing, we had advanced tools, and hyenas no longer had the ability to dominate. We pushed them out of the caves, their food sources died off, and they had less to work with. There's a reason why you still see them now in Africa, India, I guess mostly Africa, and then India, and they're specialized as well. Spotted hyena, very specialized in, I guess it's generalized, and it can eat most everything. Striped hyenas, both in Africa and India, very different, but also very, like, do the same kind of thing. And then the aardwolf eats mostly termites, we think, and insects. So very different aspects, but all survivors for a reason. Now, the competition for caves ended decisively. About 24,000 years ago, the cave hyena had vanished from Europe, and with a few isolated populations surviving in possibly Spain or Siberia, in the end, our ancestors outlasted one of the Ice Age's fiercest predators, and not through strength alone, but through adaptability. Now, today the word hyena brings up, a mind of a villain's laugh or a scavenger's sneer, but the truth is more impressive and far older. When you think hyena, I think of Harley Quinn's pets. She had 2 hyenas. I think of the hyenas from The Lion King. You can even kind of think of, there's a book series I really enjoyed that takes place in a fantastical world in Europe, and they call them laughing dogs. They're hyenas as well, but they're not like cave hyenas. They were more like spotted hyenas, because even the Romans found hyenas. They definitely ran into a lot of these things. So just a really cool villain to have, a very scary predator and a very intelligent predator. Now, hyenas are survivors, and for millions of years they've endured shifting climates, fierce competition, and extinction events that wiped out larger creatures, so they're doing well. The cave hyena may be gone, but its legacy remains written in the fossil record. And in the echoes of those caves where humans first lit against the dark. Again, this is something that gave us the willies. So next time you see a modern-day hyena, remember that its ancestors once ruled the Ice Age. And it was so cool. Powerful, clever, and unafraid. They just came in and took over. I love to see that. So I want to say thank you very much for listening to El Dino. It's not a crazy long episode today. I'm trying to keep it more like factual and less, boring. So thank you very much for watching El Dino. I hope you really enjoyed. If you like hyenas as much as I do, this is a cool thing. Look up. There's so many cooler hyenas that existed. Pachycrocuta, which was one of the biggest hyenas ever, the short-faced hyena, was a monster. So they've been dominating the landscape, and they're such a cool animal. So if you enjoyed this episode, I hope you share it to your friends and family. You can check out my other episodes and all the episodes we actually do at the Media Hub on our YouTube, which you're going to see this at. And I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in and watching this. People behind the scenes as well, Justin and Megan, always thank you so much. And until next time, I'll be here.